This is Nitha Ramachandra from the NR Media, NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode. Happy Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. So everyone, please tune in. We are back with another special episode. Fans, you already know we are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. And everybody knows about the speaker app on my phone where you can put in your questions in that app for all the guests that we have on the show. And like I said, a special episode. And we are joined by Valerie Andrus. She's big into tennis. She's been playing tennis for her whole life, and she's big into fashion. She's a big fashion woman, fashion designer, whatever you call it. And she's from the Arizona area, man. And what a great story, amazing story. You can find her on social media at the Tennis City Guide. And she does a lot of great stuff involving tennis, and she's big. She's a big inspiration and woman in sports. And we're glad to have her on, finally making this happen. And after a few weeks of busyness and our team trying to figure out which day, which time for Valerie to come on, but we finally made it happen today. So Valerie, I just want to say thank you for joining the show, and I'm glad that you're finally on, and I can't wait to talk about more of your tennis journey, your story, how you got into tennis and how you got into fashion, because I've seen your Instagram profile, and you're always putting videos, content when it comes to clothing, fashion, and then you put it together with tennis. So it's really amazing. And like fans, please, like I said, put your questions in for Valerie. So first of all, how are you and your family doing today?
You always ask me that, and that's so nice. First of all, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for being so patient. I know I've had a lot going on lately, but I'm so glad that we finally connected. But yeah, I'm doing well. I'm actually in the middle of a move, so
Oh,
I
wow.
tried to hide the packing boxes around me, but yeah, I had knee surgery in December, but I've actually been back playing tennis the past couple of weeks, so I'm feeling so much better. I just love being out there, and it's just a big, huge part of my life. So yeah, well, overall. So thanks for always asking that. I really appreciate you. You're so thoughtful.
Anytime. Whoever doesn't know, fans, Valerie lost her mother recently, so we're gonna dedicate this episode to her mother.
Oh,
And
so sweet.
this is all about your mother. And speaking of family,
Yeah.
can you share some I don't know if but can you share some memories about your mother, and she's been uh what she has been through your life and to your journey, and tell our fans about that.
Yeah, so she actually is the one who taught me how to play tennis. We're a Mexican American family, and she grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. But she played tennis and softball. She was also a bowler. She was just a kind of a really good overall athlete. Um, and yeah, she's her and her father and her family, they played a really big part in their community. When she was in school, the schools were segregated, like the Hispanic kids were
Yeah.
at one, and the non-Hispanic kids were at another. So yeah, they have a really strong history of civil activism. And yeah, she was just a great mom. Really sweet, like compassionate. She just set the bar high as far as moms go. But yeah, she actually taught me how to play tennis, and is a feisty competitor. And yeah, and was always just a really good fan, like never critical or just a really good fan, and always very supportive. So I feel lucky to have had so much time with her.
Well, rest in peace to her. And like I said, the show will be dedicated to her. I'm sure she's proud of you now, where you're at now in your journey. And it's just amazing that she taught you how to play tennis, and you can live on continue living the legacy of her life whenever you step on the tennis court. But talk about
Sure.
so tell our fans about your injury and how did it happen, and how you feeling now, and what's it like to be back on the court finally.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had the second of two partial knee replacements. I'd never I've played sports my whole life, aside from tennis, I played volleyball and softball. Never really had like any major injuries, but when my kids were little and it was hard to get away to play a lot of tennis, I got really big into running, because I could just go out and run for 30 minutes. And when I lost my dad in 2009, I had decided I wanted to run a marathon. So um, that was kind of one of my bucket list things. And I think all that running really, all that running really wore down the knees. But my right knee I had done 5 years ago and was super successful. I play probably 5 to 6 times a week. So, wasn't really, limiting me in any way. But my knee surgeon was getting ready to retire, and my left knee was getting ready, was bad enough to where it could be repaired. So, yeah, I caught him before he retired and had that done in December. So it's only been a couple months, which really isn't that long. And I'm definitely not 100%.
Right.
My movement is still, still needs some time, but yeah, it really, even though like I knew I was going to miss it, like it really, it's hard. I think, anyone who uh, plays sports a lot, it's hard to be injured. It's so frustrating. And you just, like I miss my friends, I miss being out on the court and like the camaraderie and everything. So I'm so happy to be back. And it definitely makes life easier for everyone around me when I can play. So yeah, I played this morning and yesterday. I've got tennis, 4 times this week. So yeah, just taking it easy, being patient. But yeah, I'm just happy to be back out there.
Yeah, so one of our fans just said, "Thank you for sharing your about your mom's stories."
Oh, thanks. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, so tell our fans, talk about what's it like? Just what I know your mom taught you tennis, but what else got you into tennis, and what's the and how important was it for you to play multiple sports, especially getting all the mobility, the movement, and how important was it
Hmm.
to play multiple sports, and what other passion got helped you get into tennis also, along
Hmm.
with your mom?
Yeah. So I think it was in third grade when my parents, installed a court, and I'd always watch, like there are four majors in tennis. So the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. And so summer is the French Open and Wimbledon, and those would be televised on like, public networks. We didn't grow up with cable. So yeah, I would just watch. I loved watching tennis, and I grew up with the Williams sisters, who were just a little bit younger than I am. Jennifer Capriati, who's also around, and these girls were like, I think Jennifer Capriati was around my same age. So she was like 14, 15 when she was on the tour. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this girl's like my age, and it really kind of sparked my interest. But yeah, I loved growing up watching the Williams sisters. Like, Serena is still one of my favorites. And yeah, just, you know, traditionally or historically, tennis is a predominantly Caucasian sport. So it was good to see people who, people of color playing. And it really was inspiring to my sister and I, because we're Susanna and Valerie, and they were Venus and Serena. So we just always kind of make these little comparisons, because we would just go out on the court and try and beat each other and screw around. And but yeah, I think those are really like the big inspirations. And I wasn't like a super popular kid in school. Like I'd skip the fourth grade, which just doesn't make you very popular.
It's
So I
it doesn't matter. It means that you're smart, you're intelligent, and yeah.
uh, well, socially it was not fun. So I just like I didn't have a lot of friends. So I spent a lot of time like on one end of our court was the wall. So I spent a lot of time by myself hitting on the wall, definitely getting my 10,000 hours in.
Wow.
And I've always just sort of treated it as like my first love, like my best friend. It's always been there. It always helps me feel better about myself. And yeah, it's just definitely a sport I play because I love it so much.
All right.
Yeah,
We have a fan question for you now. They're already
love it.
putting you on the spot. So they they want
Oh
to
no.
know the top five women's tennis
Uh,
players on the women's side.
Currently,
You can do
I'll
both.
say,
You can do both.
yeah, I might as well say currently. Yeah, so I am a huge fan of Arena Sabalenka. She just won the Australian Open. She is a Belarusian player, but she is I like her game style. She's super aggressive, like super loud. Like one of my goals for this year is to actually be in a match, like to watch her live because I was listening to a podcast and they were commenting about how like imposing her, it's a little bit like Serena. She has pieces of Serena with her. She's just a big hitter, power hitter, loud and imposing, and I love it. Like I love her style of play. um Elena Rybakina is she plays for, it's not, it starts, or Kazakhstan. And she is also like a really tall, big hitter, like big power tennis. That's kind of what I like. So those two, I definitely am such a Coco fan. Like she is um so sweet and like such a good role model. And I'm just so impressed with how composed she always is for as young as she is. So what is that? Three? Um, gosh, two more. So Sabalenka, Rybakina, Coco. I've I've always been a big Sloane Stevens fan. I know her results like aren't always like um, you know, all that amazing, but I think she's so beautiful and
Yeah.
just really uh admire her. And gosh, one more. Well, I've always really liked the Spanish players, Margaret or what's her name? I forgot her. Oh, Garbine Muguruza is she she was really big, in kind of like the Serena era, but then she's kind of tapered off. I don't even know if she still plays or not. But I've always been a huge fan of hers. But yeah, there's an overall like my favorite player, you know, that that isn't playing anymore. I was a big Steffi Graf fan. And of course Serena has always been my favorite.
Yes. Uh,
Thanks for the question. That was a good question.
yeah. They love putting people on the spot. But yeah. So my favorite, I like Maria Sharapova,
Yeah.
Serena, obviously. And then another person that no one talks about lately, in my opinion, Jessica Pegula. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
she's underrated in my opinion. Um, and
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
I like obviously Coco Golf, 19 years old, amazing. What she's
Hmm.
doing at her age, and and those are like right now, in my opinion, like my favorite tennis players to watch right now on the women's side.
Yeah, it was funny because I think Serena and or not Serena, Arena and Coco
Yeah,
played.
Serena.
Yeah, they obviously played in the final at the US Open, but they also played again in Australia. This time Arena won. But I loved watching that match because I just feel like there's so much. I don't know. I always go back to, I just feel like what the Williams sisters did for tennis is so impactful. And like watching the two of them, like there's just so much of Serena in both of them. And I loved it. It's super exciting in tennis right now and on both sides. But um, yeah, I love it.
But on the men's side is Novak Djokovic. Unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I've always been a Roger fan, like a
Roger.
lot of people. Yeah, I mean, people really, he's a very likable guy. He looks like a tennis player. He's beautiful. Um, but Novak is just what he's done is it's just incredible, and he might not have win the popularity contest, but he definitely has
Yeah.
all the records and all the numbers and um so impressive. And his game style is a little more systematic. but effective. And that's, I think that's a big part of tennis. Like, um, you know, even in my own personal game, like I don't always go for like the smart shot. Like I'll go for like, these crazy winners that but yeah, like he's sort of like gotten past like, he plays it like a chess game. Like it's just he plays very smart and he's taking care of his body. He's, definitely on the older side, but yeah, he's still making these young guys look silly sometimes. Yeah.
So all the so tell me, all different, I mean, each person have their own routines in different sports, but for you, talk about
Mhm.
routine and how you get ready for a tennis match or when you go on the court for practice or
Mhm.
what do you do, whatever you do that day. But just think about your routine and your techniques when it comes to playing tennis. What's your own style when
Mhm.
it comes to tennis?
Yeah, I typically, I mean, I like to play in the morning. I do play some nighttime tennis. But I don't know, I don't always like stretch or warm up, which is something I definitely should be doing, especially as I get older. But um, yeah, I mean, I typically try and, like feel my body, like, make sure I get some good protein um, and really for me, it's a lot, especially with having an injury, it's really a lot more about recovery. Like I know if I have a really long match, the rest of the day is going to be like maybe some icing or a salt bath or, Theragun. I get like a deep sports massage every couple of weeks. Yeah, it's really, especially as, you get older, like it's taking care of your body and making sure that, um, injury prevention is the biggest thing. And aside from my two knee surgeries, like like knock on wood, I don't, I I've never had like wrist or elbow or shoulder or anything like that. So, which is, I consider myself really fortunate. But yeah, it's really a lot about, just taking care of my body, giving myself time to recover. Like I said, I'm playing 4 times this week, which really is kind of a lot considering I'm just coming back. But I got a massage on Friday and then I'll take, the weekend off. And yeah, so just managing the schedule, which is hard for me because people are like, do you want to, someone asked me to play Friday and I really like, I'm just like, oh, I'm already playing Monday through Thursday. Like I really wanted to say yes, but, having to say no sometimes. But yeah, really just, like anything, I'm not, sometimes my mind thinks I'm 20, but my body is definitely not.
Hey, you're young. Everybody's young in my book.
Oh gosh.
But we have another fan question for you. Actually, this is interesting. They want to know, they said, I know this is a tennis show, but they want to know what are your thoughts on pickleball?
Uh, well, I'm definitely a tennis purist. I love tennis. I don't really share any pickleball related stuff on my platforms, but I think it's great. I think for people who like, if it's like sitting on the couch and playing pickleball, like absolutely. It's fun. It's really fun. You don't have to be like a stellar athlete, like and it gets people outside. It's super social. Like my club where I play tennis just installed like 10 pickleball courts. So and they're always packed. It's amazing to see so many people. Like we fight over parking spaces now. We're just like, oh, the pickleballers. But it really is fun. Like I give it a hard time, but like I love to play. It's really fun and I think, you know, I'm gonna play tennis as long as I can, and who knows, at some point I may make the switch. But I mean, my biggest beef was when there's a lull in like tennis tournaments. I always have Tennis Channel on like in the background. Um, and I did hate seeing pickleball on Tennis Channel. I'm like, I would rather watch high school tennis or college tennis or like challenger level tennis than pickleball. But I think they have their own channel now, so just like see you guys. Go have fun in your own channel.
Yeah. So, what are your some of your best moments on the tennis court and competing at the highest level? And Talk about your some of your best moments, or the singles or doubles matches, or talk
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, so my sister and I played in high school and in junior college together, and that was really fun. Like we're 2 years apart, but only a year in school, and that's something our parents really loved. Like they loved being able, having us be doubles players, and we did have a lot of fun together. But as an adult, I think it's really just like the friendships, like especially having to be away from it these past couple of months. Um, like everyone goes through stuff in life and, we're out there playing tennis, but it really is, us, we all support each other. And, um, but got so this is the first year I play USTA tennis, which is United States
Yeah.
Tennis Association, and so you can like go to if you win in your region, you go to sectionals, and if you win there, you can go to nationals. So this last year, this last October was the first time I'd ever been on a team that went to nationals, and it was such a fun experience. It was in Tucson, and everyone's, it's all based on a number level. So, and it's just such a good competition. Like it's all probably, people who are like you and I, like former, collegiate athletes or that are still competitive and just really fun. Like, it's like you're just like, oh, these are my people. Like we all are competitive and, but yeah, I'd say that's probably, I mean, my favorite part of tennis is just, and then also just being able to travel. Like it's a great way to, that's was sort of the impetus to start my whole little passion project is I love going to, if you go watch to the US Open and watch tennis in New York, there's so many other great things to do in New York, like art and culture and stuff like that. So it's a great way to um, parlay some travel along with getting some tennis in.
All right, we have back-to-back fan questions for you. We'll do the food one first. So one of
Okay.
one of our fans wants to know your go-to snack and your favorite food.
Okay, so my go-to snack like for like during matches, I'll usually take like a banana or um what else? I've been kind of hooked on these little like fig bars,
Mhm.
um, or like some almonds. Um, really just, something I try not to eat a lot of like sugar otherwise, but like sometimes like those little sport jelly beans are
Yeah.
good, especially if it's a long match and you just start to run out of energy. But those are some of my favorites as far as during matches. But I don't know, ever since I haven't had lunch yet, but you said Taco Tuesday, and I was like, that sounds so good. That'd probably want to be.
Taco.
I love that you have a Hispanic on Taco Tuesday, but yeah, I would say like I just had tacos and beer last night. It was like probably that would be my last meal. Like it's so good.
See, today was meant to be for you and me.
Absolutely, I know. I like I told you, I was like, listen, if it doesn't have to happen today, wasn't meant to be. So yeah, I tacos and beer.
Yeah.
And maybe like a salty margarita. Oh my gosh.
Oh. Woo. But the other fan question here, all right, they want to know if the right opportunity presents itself, would you consider being competing for like a US Open or being in that sort of tournaments? They want to know about that.
So I I'm definitely not anywhere near professional level. Um, and it's funny because like, I was definitely like a big fish in a small pond. Like I was good in my high school, but then when we would go to state, I would get my butt kicked. And even playing in like junior college tennis, like I play some former D1 tennis players currently and they're just amazing. Like the to be a professional tennis player, you really have to start so early and a lot of, like 4 or 5 years old. Um and a lot of them are homeschooled. Like you said earlier about playing multiple sports, like I definitely grew up in the era of like you play volleyball in the fall, you play, softball in the summer, tennis in the spring. Like I definitely followed the seasons. I was never like a just a one sport athlete. And nowadays, I think for kids to be successful in their sport, like they almost have to be like, um, you know, a lot of them are homeschooled. They don't go to school. They just like train every day, or they go away to these academies. And those kids are the ones that have the potential to like play on the tour and stuff like that, or like get college scholarships. But um, yeah, I think what I play now is about as as good as it's gonna get for me, and that's fine. So like each state has their own tennis association. Ours is Arizona Tennis Association. So I play on one of their leagues. There's an inter-club league that I play on, which is, different tennis clubs will play against each other. And then USTA is the one where you have an opportunity to play people from other states and travel, and that's really fun. But yeah, I mean, I think the only way I'm going to any of those big tournaments is as a fan.
Uh, so tell our fans, what do you like about the growth of women's tennis now and the diversity of it? You see a lot of international players from different countries and
Mhm.
coming together, competing in the highest level, and like like I said, we both brought up Coco Golf, 19 year
Mhm.
old kid, and she's gonna be a star in my opinion. She is
Mhm.
already a star, but she's gonna be.
Yep.
I think she has a chance to. I'm not gonna say I'm not saying she's Serena yet, but if she keeps going at what she's doing now, I feel like she can catch up to Serena.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a while for her, but I think she can do it. But what do you like about the growth of it in general?
I definitely do love the diversity. I think, you know, um, it's just so different than it was a long time ago. And it always kind of surprised me that my mom, as like a Mexican woman, played tennis in high school. I just feel very lucky because it's not typically like a sport. Um, like I said, it was more of an expensive sport. Like you had to be able to afford lessons or belong to a country club or whatever. But I definitely love the diversity. And I look at, I feel like Serena really was, like Drake and Beyonce, like they're not going to the US Open to watch, rando players. Like she drew people from like different cultures. She had Anna Winter from Vogue magazine, and now it's so fun because like you mentioned Jessica Pagula, so there's all these like Buffalo Bills players that will come and watch her play, and that's what's so fun is to see like like some Jimmy Butler is really into tennis, and he's goes to all these tournaments, and it's so fun to see like so many different people who like necessarily wouldn't have been fans of tennis previously. Um, yeah, I just think it's really opening up to you know to a bigger community, and there's not just like one type of tennis player. You don't have to be uh you don't have to grow up in a country club and summer in the Hamptons to be a good tennis player. But yeah, I definitely yeah, I love it. And I think on a I don't know, I'm sure you probably hit on I don't know if you cover golf at all, but like,
Oh
the
yeah, we cover
Saudis
golf.
coming in.
Yep.
Yeah, so like the whole thing with like live golf, and that's
Yep.
kind of coming into tennis too. And um, there's a lot of people who are really against it, but Billie Jean King said, you have to see it to be it. And I feel like I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I do think, one thing that I try to consider is there are all these like probably beautiful young Saudi girls who would love the exposure of watching women play tennis because it's a great way for girls in general to have a professional athletic career. And as much as like there's it's hard to like want to accept you know their influence on the sport, I feel like if you can see someone do it, then you know um, then that would really be, a good thing, and it helps the sport grow. And um, yeah, so yeah, it is growing, but I do think there are ways where we can, continue to, introduce it to places around the world who don't normally get to see it.
Yeah, so speaking of the golf, we every year we cover the LPGA in New Jersey, Upper Montclair. There's a golf course that they host a big tournament there. It's called the LPGA Women's Golf. Yeah, they do a great job with that, and it's growing big time. And it's for me, for us is a great opportunity to cover that sport. And uh Upper Montclair gives us the opportunity to come there as media coverage and cover all the
Hmm.
women golf players. And there's a couple of golf players that I like. Minjin Lee, she's one. And then the lady who won last year, Kim Young Ju. They're both talented players, and there's a lot of great talented golf players. But these two, their swing is effortless, and
Hmm.
covering golf is a nice. It's really interesting because when we take the videos, you can see the technique of the swing and after then the aftermath of it too, which is amazing.
Yeah, I admire anyone who's good at golf. I've tried, and I'm not very good, but I think I'd probably have to practice more to get good. But yeah, yeah, I think it's so great that you dedicate so much time to women in sports. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm big into women in sports, and I have 14 people on my team, and five of them are female. So
I
yes,
love it.
I'm big into women in sports. So.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah, so tell our fans and what advice would you give to young girls or whoever wants to get into the tennis world? So talk about what advice would you give and what training techniques would you give to these young kids that are trying to get into tennis?
Yeah, I think just to not take it too seriously. I think you always have to be having fun. And even on the professional level, like if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's just not, and I've lost matches too where I'm just like, I'm so worried about winning or the result, and and I'm not having fun, and I don't play well. And I think if you just remember to have fun. And tennis is a tough sport. It's a tough sport. It's a lot of repetition and experience. And um but the more, and I think that's why I play so much, because I want to play well. And it's just like golf. Like, if you golf once a month, you're probably not going to be very good. But yeah, I like to play a lot because I like to get that experience. Like, I feel like one of the things I always kind of struggled with is I would just get so nervous. Like, if it was like match point or like closing out matches. And I always tell my kids, because my two boys played football, I'm just like, you can't like take a knee and let the clock run out in tennis. Like, you have to win the last point. um and but it's nerves. Like, even on the professional level, like, you watch people just get tight. And but yeah, and the only way you improve that is just by being in that situation more. So um you know and definitely playing better people. Like, I think a couple weeks ago, one girl played at U of A and one girl played at Grand Canyon University. Like, they're just amazing. And um, it's just so fun to play better players. Like, you realize how high the bar is, but that's how you get better. And but yeah, I think, and it's a lifetime sport. Like, none of my kids, like I said, my two boys played football. My daughter was a dancer, but um, my youngest son, I took them to Spain this summer, and we went to a couple of um, tennis tournaments. And he's a big Ben Shelton fan. I don't know if you know who he is, but Ben he played football. He was a quarterback, but then he played tennis at Florida, the Gators. And he's just like such a big fan of him. So he's actually started to play. And
Oh wow.
yeah, it's a great sport that you can play really for the rest of your life. And I'd love for all of them at some point to take it up. But yeah, I think, like anything, you have to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, so we have another fan question for you. They want to know, um, who are who are some of the funniest teammates that you play with?
Um, so I will say, like, so the majority of what I play is daytime women's tennis. So it's like it's mostly doubles. But last year, it was the first year that I played mixed doubles. So it's a man and woman play together, and it's so fun. Like the dynamic with women can get a little bit catty, and
Hmm.
it's women. Um, love them. But yeah, I think some of the most fun matches I've had is just like battling it out in mixed doubles, and guys are so competitive, and so am I, and um, yeah, it's really fun to like do those um, those mixed events. And I don't play a lot of tournaments, but I have played a few, and tournament play is also really fun. But um, yeah, and there's definitely a couple of my teammates that are a little more fun to play with than others. But yeah, we always have fun. I mean, it's fun to like, you're in the middle of a match, and you and your partner can
Hmm.
just have your own fun on your side of the court. I mean, yesterday I played a match against this woman, and she had like she did this weird little like hip hip jolt, whatever, with her serve, and my partner I were just like it was so weird. Like it's very distracting. So we're just like, we've got to just keep our eye on the ball. Like, is this, and that's what you see like in recreational tennis like this. Like it's not always like beautiful, like proper technique. I think that's what's the most interesting about it is like people, the way that some people play tennis so awkwardly, but it's effective. So you gotta give them credit.
Hmm. Yeah, so talk about how did you get into fashion and tell our fans about that. A lot of athletes are a lot of athletes are into fashion like Russell Westbrook, or you got like you got a bunch of players, but mainly Russell Westbrook. He's big into fashion. But talk about
Mhm.
how did you get into fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't study it or anything. I just kind of have like my own style, and um I don't know, it's strange because I'm like in my 40s, but um like I feel like that doesn't mean that you have to like give up on your style. So I don't know. I just I'm sure it's not for everybody, but I just like to share it, and I feel like because that's what inspires me. There are a few accounts for women who are like in their 50s and 60s, and they are still super stylish and still um, very relevant. And I that's what inspires me. And I hope that maybe, you know, um, that's what maybe I might, you know, inspire women to like maybe not take fashion so seriously, or like you don't have to wear what, everybody else is wearing. You can definitely, I like to mix, high and low stuff. Like I love like t-shirts from Target, and skate clothes. My son lives in Newport Beach, so whenever we go out there, I always hit the skate shops. And I grew up sort of like, I think every little guy I had a crush on was a skateboarder. So like I love like skate brands and that kind of stuff. And I love mixing that with like, designer items. And yeah, I just like to have fun with it. And I think definitely if as I've gotten older, I'm just like I don't really care, too much about what people think. I just kind of do what is comfortable. And yeah, and I seem to get good interaction with it. So yeah, I just have fun with it. I'm definitely not an expert by any means. Most of what I do is copy other people's ideas. So good artists copy, right? Or better, yeah, right? Better artists steal, or whatever it is. That's what I do.
So before we let you go, talk about what are your goals for 2024 as a player and as you recover from the injury and like you said, you're not 100% yet, but when you get to 100%, what are your goals after that? And then once you hit the 100% mark, what is that? What is your plan, and how competitive? What competitions do you have coming up, and talk about that, the expectations.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm definitely gonna just keep playing, just keep being patient. Um, there's always something I'm working on. But yeah, I'm just gonna try and be patient and probably work on my movement a little more, my footwork. I feel like that's what definitely needs the most work right now. But in general, like as far as my personal goals, I'm just going to try and play my best through the rest of the most of the league seasons and like April. And I typically play quite a bit in the summer. I kind of use that as like my time to like work on stuff and then the seasons will start up again in August. So I really am hoping to get back to like you know similar level of as I was before by August. So I'm giving myself that time. But as far as like tennis in general, so um, it's a super exciting time for tennis in the States right now because it's the spring swing is coming up, which is Indian Wells, which I'll be going to next week. That's a 2 week tournament in Palm Springs. And then there's actually a tournament here in Phoenix right after that. So when I come home, there'll be more tennis. And then I have plans to go to the Miami Open. So the way the tournament goes, it's Indian Wells and then Miami, and then everybody goes to start the clay court season in France, or well, in Europe. But yeah, so I'm super excited about that. So I'll have a lot of content coming up. I'm going to some really fun events with a lot of players, and that's typically uh, all of these like social events where like the players can come and kind of hang out or before the tournament actually starts, and then they get super zoned in and focused on the tournament. But yeah, I'll have a lot of fun content from that coming up, and it's always really fun and exciting to go and watch the tournament. I mean, the season starts out in Australia, so it's a little bit disconnected. It's even hard to watch it, with the time changes. But yeah, the tennis is coming back to the States, which is really exciting. And yeah, so this is like prime tennis season right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so tell our fans where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so most of what I do is on Instagram, and my handle is Tennis City Guide. I do write a blog with everything I've had going on. I've been neglecting that a little bit. I did a little 4-day trip by myself to Santa Fe that was really restorative, and I loved it so much, and I'd really like to sit down and write about that. But my website is called Tennis City Guide, and I have blog posts on there about tennis camps I've gone to or like visiting different cities. But those are basically my two main platforms. I do have a Facebook page, and I get so overwhelmed with TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but yeah. So most of what I do is on Instagram. I share a lot on my stories, like, just kind of like the day-to-day stuff of, playing tennis and everything. But yeah, coming up, I'll have a lot of things about, visiting Palm Springs. I'm going to try and, they do like these really cool modern art. Sorry, I lost the
Nope.
AirPod. Um, they do these really cool modern home tours because there's a lot of cool like modern art or mid-century modern architecture out there. So whenever I visit a city, I try and do as well as the tennis, I try and do a little bit of other stuff too. Um, but yeah, definitely keep an eye on that. And yeah, I'd love to have you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we stay connected, and hopefully when you come to Jersey or the New York area, we can connect in person. Or if I come to our
Yeah.
day, we can connect in person and do some collaboration work. But there you have it, Valerie Andrus, tennis player who's big into fashion. Also, what an amazing story, inspiring story. Like we said earlier, everybody knows that the show is dedicated to her late mother, and so yeah, so and rest in peace to your mother, and thank you for coming on. And this was truly amazing episode and inspiring episode. And keep up the great work. Like I said, we'll stay connected, and we'll message each other, and let's see what we can work out when it comes to collaboration work. But good luck with your next matches coming up, and I hope we need you to get to 100%. So yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Say a little prayer for me.
But yeah, so keep it up, and like I said, thank you again, and this, like I said, amazing story.
Yeah, this has been so fun. Thanks for your patience. And
Eh,
yeah, we'll definitely, I'll be in New York in August for the
Oh,
US
cool.
Open. So
Okay,
we'll
cool.
have
My
to, we'll
birthday,
have
my
to,
birthday's in August, so
all right, there we go. Go have a birthday drink.
yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.